for sticking around. It is 3 p.m., 3:01 p.m. Eastern, and we have Jane Galina here with us. Jane, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anka and David, for setting this up. It's such a great idea to have so many women collaborating and working together. So thank you guys, first of all, for asking me to participate and for setting it up. It's a great event. And, you know, today is one of those days when everyone's eyes are peeled on the news, right? Everybody is interested. What are they saying? You know, the market is bouncing a little bit. What's going to happen? And everyone wants to trade the news. And I'm going to show you why. I really don't listen to the news that much. I follow the charts more, and you're going to see how I do it. So let's see, let's get the presentation rocking here. So a legal disclaimer, obviously this presentation is going to be for educational purposes only. And you know, if it's a new idea or new strategy for you as an experienced trader or as a seasoned trader, many times it's best to go ahead and paper trade that strategy for a good 6 weeks. Prove it to yourself that you are able to go ahead and achieve profits with that technique, otherwise, you know, it can be frustrating psychologically if you do not perform using somebody else's technique, and it's better to go ahead and practice on paper. Also know that if you do trade any sort of securities instrument, there does come varying degrees of risks. No results are guaranteed, and losses can happen. All right. So a little bit more about me and where you can find me. I'm pretty much all over the place on social media. We've got Twitter, it's Airplane Jane. I had to change it because I had a couple scammers trying to use my picture. Instagram, on YouTube as well. I do release about 3 videos a week. Also on LinkedIn and Facebook, and my website, CJ Trade, as well as Ticker Talker. This is new. I do a morning review on Ticker Talker, as well as release my watch list there each morning as well. Also, if you are interested in emailing me, very easy, jane@cjtrade.com, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if you have any, or you just want to reach out and get in touch as well. All right, so much like this event, when I first started out in trading, you know, I really wanted to find other female traders in the industry to learn from, and it was very difficult. So I thought, you know, I'd read Momo Traders and I'd read Market Wizards, which are all about the perspective of successful traders that have, you know, dictated their story, their pitfalls, their tips, everything like that. And so I put it together for women in trading as well. And I have, you know, brand new trader from 5 months to seasoned traders over 25 years of experience. So I really wanted to try to help the women looking to break into the industry, as far as to find other female role models. Much like this event is great because it does have so many women coming together, working to help other people learn how to trade. And how I really came to trading was initially at the breakfast table with my parents growing up, sitting at our table. My parents had the Wall Street Journal open, and I was a curious little kid. So I said, hey, you know, what is the PE ratio? What is the high? What is the low? And slowly but surely, I was learning about value investing or the fundamentals of stocks. Of course, you know, I was 7, 8 years old. Didn't really realize what it meant at that time, but I was learning about it. And then later on, I graduated from college in Memphis, and being from Washington, D.C., I was like, hey, you know what? This city is a little too small for me. I would think I might want to live in Atlanta. So I'm the type of person, I get up, I go, and I do it. And at the time, there were a lot of brokerage firms that were hiring. And I ended up going to Solomon Smith Barney in the Pinnacle building. And I received my Series 7, which is the license by the SEC to act as a broker. And so I was working with 4 different brokers as their registered assistant to help them with all their orders and servicing their clients. And it was a time at which the dot-com bubble was imploding. And at that office, they actually had the WorldCom options for their employees was managed out of that office. And so I saw a lot of people that had taken money out on margin for, you know, whatever their expense was. They bought a car, maybe a house, maybe a boat, and they'd taken money out, but they never actually exercised the options. And what happened was the price of the WorldCom stock dropped. And then these people were underwater, and I saw how they really lost everything. You know, they went on margin and they lost everything, and now they were owing the brokerage money. So I thought, you know what, at this point, I really don't want to work with other people's money. I followed my passion. I went to culinary school in Europe, and then I came back to the trading world after I'd immigrated from the US to Canada. And I found myself 8 months pregnant and laid off. And I live in Quebec, where you pretty much have to be bilingual to get hired anywhere. And so I thought, you know what? I've got a newborn baby coming. I need to provide for my family. What am I going to do? So after my daughter was 6 months old, I thought, you know what? My husband had reminded me of a great trade, value trade, where I turned 25,000 into 250,000. And I thought, you know what? This is great. Maybe I should look into this more. And so I started studying about day trading. And initially, I was really a scalper of low float stocks. And then I thought, you know what? I really want to, that was fairly risky. And obviously, when you first come to trading, yes, the money is great, but you want to limit your risk first, right? So then I started to do gap trading of intraday gaps and swing trading. And now even a bit of options as well, because you can limit the risk to your option expense. So we'll get back to the news, right? So everyone wants to get that best news source. You've got Benzinga, Squawk Box, there's Redbox Global. There's so many different news sources out there, but many times you'll see that the news is always in hindsight, right? It's always justifying the move. So how on earth can you get ahead of that? But first, let's look at a couple of the headlines from today. So headlines, this epic selling is not over according to these charts. And the recession is imminent. Okay, that was 3 days ago. That was February 27th. But still, it's putting all these fear into everybody. Watch out. These tech stocks have not fully felt the coronavirus. And this long-term buying, you know, should investors be buying right now? It's not the opportunity for them to buy. And JP Morgan's a winner in any market. And is the stock market overreacting to coronavirus? Pretty much 1 out of 6 of these is not implying fear. Okay, besides the JP Morgan, right? The rest of them are pretty much putting in your head, hey, there's fear, the selling is not done, maybe you should start selling, watch out, you know, maybe you need to put in stops if you have tech stocks. A lot of them are putting into your brain, hey, get out of the market at the moment, potentially, or if you like to short, go short, right? But there's a lot of them talking in a sense that you need to get out of the market. And of course, I'm not looking at the technicals of the charts or anything like that, just solely the news, right? So many times with these headlines, what's really going on, right? Are the upgrades going to cause that stock to rise or drop? Many times, if you actually watch it, you will see that when a stock is getting upgraded, that many times there's a lot of selling that comes in. It happened on Tesla, right? There was a Tesla targeted at 850. Once it went up there, yes, it did have a short squeeze up to 997 and then immediately dropped back down. There's so many instances where you'll look at an upgrade or a downgrade and all of a sudden it seems like there's a support or resistance that's met. And how is that happening? You know, when you want to sell, right? Say it's a really big big guy, a really big order, 1 million shares that they want to go ahead and fill. What do you think is the best way to get somebody to sell their shares, right? So they can buy it. Well, hey, let's downgrade it. Let's just go ahead and convince them that they need to get rid of it because we want to buy it. Or vice versa. Hey, we want to go ahead and sell our shares. We find that this is a perfect point at which we want to take profit. What should we do? Maybe we should upgrade it. We say, we think this is going up to this point. And then they go ahead and they sell their shares to all the little buyers. And I love this one. Is the market going to go on forever? The bull market. This was back in January, right? January 20th, we were off from the market, MLK Day, and I'll show you the headlines of the bear and cover. Or is this going to be the recession, right? That's the one that we're seeing on all the headlines right now. And will this virus cause the market to crash? Everything, it seems like the news is tying everything to the virus and what's going on, and it's more reactionary instead of how can you find out this information before the news is even covering it. Once the news has come out, many times the move has already happened. You've missed it. You've already missed that move. So what are the indicators and what can you look for in order to profit? Well, we have the cycle of emotions too with the market, right? So the market and the trade. So many times when you have people, you get into a trade, they start to be optimistic, they're excited, yes, this is great, I'm making so much money. Then it hits the point of maximum financial risk. How many people actually take profit there? Or do they think this is going to continue on up forever, right? This bull market's never gonna end. Yes, overall the market is bullish. There's all this money all constantly being poured into 401ks in the US that drive the market up overall long term. So yes, long term, the market is bullish. However, we do have smaller trends within that super long time frame that can be a correction or a pullback. And that's the point at which many people start to get fearful, right? They have anxiety. Oh no, I just got into Tesla at 850 and now it's down to 700. What do I do, right? Then they deny that they've gone below their price and they start to really get upset and fearful. You know, last week in the market, people started to really fear everything. And then they get desperate and they panic and they just get out. You know, how could I have been so wrong with this? Well, maybe it was also the headlines that were pouring the wrong information into your head. And then they go ahead, they get out at the bottom and they're thinking, man, I was totally wrong about the market. You know, it was going strong for so long. How could I have gotten in at the top when the headlines are saying, hey, this market can't fail, right? And then you get upset and then there's more hope. It starts to go back up. There's relief and optimism, you know, if you'd held all the way through the trade. Anybody out there ever experienced those feelings? I don't know if I can see the chat box. But that's, you know, something that the psychology of being in a trade, you can definitely, here we go. Here's the chat. Perfect. Hey, Bat Scientist. You know what, Amity, sometimes there's a bit of, you know, today there's been crazy computer issues for a lot of people. So I'm sorry, but I'm sure the recording will be great. All right, so now I can see the questions if you guys have any questions. So what I do now is really follow the dark pools. And when I first started sharing, you know, I was sharing with my blog, Twitter, then the book. And then 3 years ago, I started doing an annual event, the Modern Trader Summit. And I met Stephanie Kammerman, who runs the Java Pit. And now we actually work together. I help her in the training pit and educating people. And we trade a lot around the prints that come from the dark pool. Now, some people might say, hey, okay, Jane, what's a print? I don't want to take anything for granted for people's level that are here today. So a print is going to be, there's always one person on one side and then another person or lots of little people on the other side. Once that trade is fully done, it prints on the tape, right? That is the record of the print being completed. Well, with the dark pools, we sometimes see prints as large as 5 million, 7 million, 12 million. We sometimes see really large prints that will come in, and those prints always have one big guy. I like to think of it as a big whale, and lots of little guppies or little retail traders. And these are going to be the really big guys, like the hedge funds, or maybe even Buffett, you know, all these people that are coming in and they're trying to get into a big trade. And those are done in the dark pool. And they have up to 3 hours to go ahead and report the trade from the time that it's fully filled. So if they finish a trade at 10 o'clock in the morning, they have until 1 p.m. in the afternoon to report it or print the trade. Now, sometimes they get really tricky. Sometimes they figured out a loophole where they can send a trade to a foreign desk. So say, you know, JP Morgan has an office in London. Well, maybe they send the trade through their London desk, and then they go ahead and they can report it the next day based on how it comes through. And originally this dark pool was set up back in 1979, and it was a regulation area where the really large people, really large orders could go ahead and get their orders filled with a better price and lower commissions. Nowadays, commissions are not that much of an issue. However, there still are some fees associated with some brokers. But for the most part, if you were to see a 1 million share position on the level 2, which is going to be where you see your bid and ask, if you were to see a 1 million share block all together, it would likely scare you one way or the other to sell or to buy before it even got to that level. So many times you'll see that there's refreshing at a certain price. Sometimes it seems to stall there and then it just doesn't go anywhere, or you see consolidation on a chart for 2 hours or 2 days, sometimes even months. And that it could be a massive order that's trying to be filled, whether it's on the bottom as support or on the top as resistance. Sometimes it will take them months to get into a position. Sometimes it will take them one trade. And so Stephanie started following these back in the 1980s when she first started. And then she taught me, and now I help in the trading pit again, educate other people all about this, which is amazing because it's truly an advantage to see what the really big guys are doing in the market. This information comes before the news, always. All right, let's continue. Sorry. If you guys have any questions, let me know. All right, so this was the cover article, December 24th from Barron's, right? I'll show you the chart as well. When we look at the chart, you can see that was the low just before we had the massive run up coming January 20th, right? So the big headline there, what was NASDAQ's party? Meanwhile, NASDAQ's party is over for now, right? Making it sound like, don't get in. It's not a good time, right? Maybe you need to sell. And then on January 20th, this was Martin Luther King Day, why stocks could vault past this milestone, right? What could go wrong from here? Well, here is where they were talking about the NASDAQ party being over. And what happened? Well, we just continued on up, right? That was the point at which we reversed, right? So January 20th is up here, up at the top. And again, what can go wrong? What could possibly go wrong, and how the Dow is going to go ahead and surge past this level? Well, December 24th, there was 12.2 million in dark pool prints on the SPY. On the 26th, there was 26.9 million. And where do we find all of these dark pool prints? We use Street Smart Edge right now with Charles Schwab. And, you know, I'm not sure if it's going to change the platform because they are merging with Thinkorswim. So I'm not sure what will be changing when they merge everything together. But for now, this is where we see it. And you can see, you know, right here, CPE, 1.49 million. EFA, 400,000. KOS, 1.9 million. And this is an old photo, so this is not current by any stretch of imagination. But you can see 100,000 on TVIX and 180,000 on QQQ, 138,000 on Netflix. This isn't chump change, right? This is a lot of capital that's being thrown into all of these trades. And so we simply follow them, right? And we had way back in the beginning of January last year, we had a lot of prints on IAU, right? You can see ranging from 1228 to 1230. That actually went on for 4 months. So like I said, it's not always going to be something that's a one-day event. This can happen over a long period of time. If somebody wants to buy that many shares, if they want to buy 55 million shares, it's going to take a long time for that order to be filled. And you can see there was a range that they traded in. And then sure enough, once we broke above, boom, right on up, right? And we know IAU has been doing very well recently as well. And GDX as well, 83 million shares, right? So if we do 83 million times 2 or 20, 21, we're looking what, at about $17 billion. That's really not small. And this was a longer term trade, right? So they started way back in January, continued all the way to June, right? And they set up, and again, once it broke out, all the way up to 31, almost 75%. TLT as well, we had a massive spike down here. You can see that's pretty much the highest range, highest volume trading day, except for this day in August. And again, it just continued on up and up. So we've got the prints here from mid-January with that title. What could go wrong, right? This market's amazing. We had 21.3 million on January 17th. January 20th, 18.3 million. January 21st, 11.6 million. Now, you might say, okay, Jane, that's great. You know, this is great. You're giving us all these prints, and you know, that looks like it's just every day. We do not see prints like this on the SPY every day of the week. If I go back to, I was going to see if I can go back to that chart, the SPY chart, but it's going to take a while to get there. But if we go back to that SPY chart, you can see that there was a massive volume spike on these 3 days, but even more so on December 26th. You saw the massive volume come in from the buying. Well, why is all this pertinent, right? So January 17th through 21st, over 3 days, there were 51 million shares, and that's roughly $16.9 billion. So when you start to see that you've got a $16 billion position, you're going to start to pay attention, right? Then it's like, okay, what are these big guys doing? If you guys have ever seen that Big Short, there was the big guy that they heard that these, you know, options on the real estate market were being drawn up for it to crash. It had never happened in history, but somebody leaked it to somebody else, and then some other people got interested, and slowly but surely there were a couple people that were interested in following this one really big person. And sure enough, they all profited huge, right? 2.69 billion, I just watched the movie, was what that first initial, I forget his name, but he had set up, and he went down as far as 30% down. Everybody was trying to pull money out of the fund. He ended up 489% in the positive because he set up a trade that was seen in the future based on the indication of what was going on with the mortgages. So when you start to see, excuse me, a very big position of almost $17 billion, why wouldn't you pay attention and follow this, right? Like, these big guys control the market. This happened before the coronavirus was massive, right? They were laying their position before the coronavirus went viral all over the news channels, right? So again, we're riding up the averages, everything like that. We have the 17th, 19th, I forget the exact dates, but this is right here. This is the 21st, right? So we're just starting to pull back on the averages, and we have this consolidation period right here. The next slide, you can see it was right here, and then we dropped below. Boom, we came down to the 50 simple moving average. Was everybody prepared for that? We definitely were in the Java pit and the trading pit, right? Easy money for us because we knew we were below 50 million. All right, well, then we came back up, bounced up. Yeah, this was I drew this line here. That was the top of the consolidation period right here. And sure enough, once we broke above, all right, guess what? We're bullish above that because we know that now there's 50 million behind us. In here, it's a little bit of indecision, but look at how quickly they took it from right here and they gapped it right on up, right? And then it bounced and it continued on up. Aha, we had more, right? We had more, and I happened to just go on vacation just when this happened. So we saw all of these prints coming in at the top. So for everyone in the Java pit and the training pit, we rocked the past couple of weeks. Why? Do we know that the corona news was going to go crazy? No. We knew we were below these massive prints that came in up here. And what happens then? Well, pretty easy, right? You're below a huge position. There was another 19 million that were traded up here. So it was 70 million total, 51 here and 19 million right here. So, okay, so we're bearish below this down to this level. If it breaks below here, right, we are like super bearish because we know there's 70 million shares, right? Who is going to mess with that 70 million shares? I know I certainly don't want to. I don't want to be in a call or be long the SPY or any of its major holdings when I see this sort of setup, right? It's scary to see 70 million. We knew something was going to happen. We didn't know to what extent. So this is the Barron's cover today, right? What is it saying? Fear factor, coronavirus went global this past week, blah, blah, blah. Bargain hunting, supply shock, focused on health and text moment because everything is bouncing now, right? So these headlines are really filled with fear. Fear to instill into the retail trading public to say, hey, I want you to sell your shares. Why? Has anybody ever told you that these could actually be reverse psychology? And they're trying to get you out so they can buy those, right? If you wanted to buy millions of shares, how are you going to do it? Again, you're going to try to convince the general public to do the exact opposite. Do you want to be that person that's selling when they're buying, right? So let's see what happened. Well, February 27th and 28th, so the past 2 trading days, this is the SPY, right? And these are the major levels at which we saw. So on the 27th, we saw 20 million shares traded. That's a lot. That's a very big level for us to watch. And it closed the end of the day at 297.51. Well, sure enough, the next trading day, we saw 55 million, right? When I told you about the selling before, we saw 51 million the beginning or the middle of January. And then the beginning of February, we saw 19 million, right? So now that 70 million that we're dealing with, this is 75 million potential buying. Not convinced 100% yet, but for now, right? Let me pull up the SPY over here on my other computer, right? We went up to 305 today, and now we're at 303.33. So we're above this level, this huge level, right? 55 million. let me do the math really quickly. Here, let's do 55,902 times 297, 89. So that's roughly 16.6 billion, right? So that's a fairly large position at 297.89. Now, if we're above it, are you going to be bullish? I want you guys to answer in the chat. Would you be bullish if we're above 55 million shares? No one? Do you think that the market's going to be dropping when we see this right here and we're above it? Right? Well, let's continue. So here are all of the prints, right? We do keep track of this in the Java pit, and we have a special file that we keep track of all of this. So this is all from the Java pit. But you can also find out all of this information if you have, there's also a program called Live Vol, and that comes from the Chicago Board of Exchange. And that is the actual data where you will have the ability to go back and search past trades. So you could go ahead and you could put in, and you could search, you know, on the 28th, anything greater than 250,000. And it will go ahead and show up. Obviously the ones that are 150 would not. But you can see we got massive, massive prints. So really, what's pertinent today about all of this? Well, these are the prints that have just come in today, right? So you can see this is not the usual amount. I should really throw in a day that has, you know, like maybe this is how much we get in a usual day. Not even that much. Usually I'd say it's from about here down. We might get that much on a usual day. So we're starting to see 3 days of massive, massive volume. So as of 1:30 today, we had another 8.3 million, we'll call it, at 295. So where are we going to go from here, right? What are we going to look at for where we could go? Well, I went back and I looked, all right, this is great. Yes, wonderful. We have all these prints coming in. You can see that volume spike right here. Look at massive volume back here, about the same amount. But what happened back in October, right? Because history does repeat itself. Computers are programmed to buy and sell off of trend lines, off of moving averages, you know, former close, former resistance and support. And as a retail trader, we are really fighting against these algorithms. So it's very important to remember that these algorithms, do they look at the news? No. They are looking at price action, and they are looking at charts for everything that I just said. Former trend lines, you know, moving averages, supports and resistance. That's what the algos look at. They don't care about the emotional factor. That's going to come into play when the big guys want to create fear or euphoria into the retail market, right? And so here we go, SPY came down back in 2018. You can see this white trend line right here. We bounced off of it once, twice, 3 times. Look at where we just bounced last week, right? We just touched it last week, right here on Friday, with that massive volume, right? So when we see that we're touching a trend line that acted as support in the past, could this be a dead cat bounce? Very well could be. Could this be a bottom? It could be. All we know right now is we are above 2 out of those 3 massive volume prints, right? Now, where did it go from here? It came up here, and this orange line is a 20 simple moving average. We came up and we tested it once and twice. We hit the 20 simple moving average on the weekly chart, right? So here we are, 318.11 is going to be the 20 simple moving average on the weekly chart. I put it over here in orange so you can see in relation to where we are right now, right? So we have this massive volume candlestick and we're upward trending. It looks very similar to the bottom that we had back here, where we had massive volume for 2 days and then off to the races we went, right? Obviously, we have a bit of correction that happens every once in a while. We came down, touched the 50, bounced up, came down, and just broke right through the 50. It did find a bit of support here on that other EMA that was right here, and buying power brought it back up. So you can see that if history repeats itself, we might be, I'm not saying guaranteeing, but with 2-3 days of massive volume, right? Volume at 311, volume down here, right? And then volume again today. We've had 3 big days of volume. Now, where are we looking to go from here? Let's go back 2 slides, right? So today's level of 295.45 is our low, 295.45, right? So we're going to keep that on watch. If we drop below that, then this 75 million is above us, right? Now, if we go above 311.56, right? You know that we have this 75 plus the additional 8.3 for now that we have going on. So that's 83 million that would be at your back. And you could potentially follow their coattails to make profits, right? 83 million shares is huge. That's huge for a position on the SPY, right? And you can see volume was ramping up. Yes, okay, there was selling that was happening too. But when they flip the switch to go ahead and buy, we see massive prints like this. And when we see massive prints, we pay attention, because that's when the massive profits can happen. I mean, some crazy puts that were like 20 cents turned into huge, huge profits, right? Over a 2-week period. And so you can see that when you trade following the dark pool, you have the ability to turn little money and little risk, 20 to 40 cent options, or $20 to $40, into sometimes $2,000, $4,000. Why wouldn't you do something like that? Like, why wouldn't you follow the big guys? So Bad Scientist is asking, so do the dark pool volumes not show up in the regular charts with the volume bars? You know what, Bad Scientist, sometimes they report the prints late. Let's go back and look, okay? So, for example, you see this right here, this 295.45. Did we trade there today? No, we didn't. So this is going to be late prints coming in from the prior day. So it really screws up the volume weighted average price, and it will screw up the volume bars, right? So when we go back to the chart, we have this right here, right? So all of this volume, 20 million of it should have been in this volume, right, from the day prior. So it really messes up with the volume bars, because the trades are being reported the next day. And so, so it can really screw up the volume bars and the volume weighted average price for those people that do trade VWAP. So Amity, do I trade futures as well? I do not personally trade futures. However, the levels that we use, you can use on the futures as well. Many times we will see that they will coincide. And if you can, you put the chart side by side, you can see that a support and resistance will hold from the SPY over onto futures and vice versa. That many times we see, hey, if the futures are hitting a pivot point, or if they're finding support or resistance and they're butting up, that sometimes that will go ahead and carry on over into the SPY as you are trading a future. So many times the SPY or S&P will carry on over. So you can definitely use the information as well, but I do not personally trade futures. We do have people in the Java pit that also use the information for trading futures as well. All right, so today. We didn't just have prints on the S&P or the SPY ETF, right? This is our QQQ prints for today. And look, we have 5.6 million at 206.94, right? So if you guys also realize, I don't know if you all know ETF database, etfdb.com, you can look and see, I love this site, because you can look and see, hey, what's one of the major holdings in QQQ? All right, Microsoft and Apple, top 2 holdings, right? They'll show you the top 15 holdings for free, or you can go to the Chicago Board of Exchange to see the full holding list for NASDAQ or the QQQ ETF or SPY ETF. And you can see, all right, so now we have 5.6 million at 206.39. So this is another line in the sand that we are going to be interested in. Where are we now? We're $7 above that. We start to see these coming in all day long. There's a big move that is going to come, right? And same thing, 879,000 on IWM or the Russell 2000 index, right? And we're above it right now. So we try to keep it fairly simple when we're talking about how to trade this stuff, right? So here we can see QQQ, again, bounced off of the 200 simple moving average. And then now we're coming up, this is the 4 EMA right here. We tested it, right? But now we're actually at 213.44 right now. And the Russell, again, I put those levels as this orange line right here, so you can see where we are in relation to them. So you can see, and there was also this trend line in the past from the Russell. I don't have any over here on NASDAQ. But you can see that it keeps it a little bit easier because it's pretty simple to say, hey, where is that dark pool print, right? Are we above the dark pool prints? Are we above those 83 million shares on the SPY? Yes. Okay. Do we think that at this point, potentially that was buying because we're above it? Potentially, yes. Now, they have the ability, these really big guys have the ability to manipulate the market, right? It's not, when you have 83 million shares, I don't remember what I said it was in the valuation, but you're looking maybe at $20 billion, right? When you have $20 billion, do you think you figured out a way to potentially change the candlestick to trick the traders? Yes. To make them think, hey, maybe it's going to go down. Maybe, you know, we could make it so that it looks like it's going to go down. So we have everybody selling at the end of the day. And maybe we just buy all their shares. Yes. So you want to wait until the end of the day and see. Because right now, yes, we've had all this massive volume come in. And let's see, let me pull up this buy right here. So we've got 304.65. We're above all those prints, but we're still below the 311. Once we break above that, there's a good likelihood that these past 3 trading days, we're buying at the bottom, right? If we are able to close above it and hold above, say 312, there's good likelihood that the market's going to be rebounding. Now it might rebound only up to 318 and we might have a bit more of a sell-off from there if the past repeats itself, but we'll look for those levels to hold. If we drop down below 295 again, guess what? Those 83 million shares would be above us, right? And then it would be, wow, maybe this market might go into a recession and really crash and really go down from here. So just seeing all this information, I hope it really opens your eyes to the fact that the market is 100% manipulated. You can see we had that cover story from Barron's today. The fear, why are they saying there's all this fear? Are they buying, right? They have to instill some fear to have people unload their shares. The same thing happened back in December of 2018. Everybody, oh my goodness, you know, the NASDAQ party is over. What happened? It did spectacular from pretty much that day forward. So knowing that, I really hope you guys look at the news and the headlines with some skepticism, because of what is it that they're really trying to tell you? What is it as a retail trader? Are they trying to tell you with the news? Is it, hey, we want you to really create fear and panic so we can buy all of your shares? Or we want you to be so confident that you will buy our shares at the top. So I really hope that I help you guys with that. Now, we also had some major prints on American Airlines. Let's see, where is it now? So we're right at about 1850 right now. And we had some major prints. I did put them right here on the chart on the left. This is our daily chart, right? So we have on February 10th, we had 9 million shares. This is so big for American Airlines. And then 2 days later, sometimes we have what's called a splash, right? You have a massive volume candlestick, and then it goes above that day. And so every other regular trader is thinking, hey, we're above this candlestick, I'm going long, right? You could look at it that way for sure. However, we got more prints. You see how it sort of held up here these 2 days, another day right here? Well, they weren't done yet. They were not done at all. So 2 more days, and then it started to slowly trickle down. Then we go down below this massive 9 million, and boom, a big drop, right? So big drop from 28.33 down to, we're trading at 18.50 right now, 18.57. So we've had a $10 move. Now, what happens if we have a travel ban with the virus, as putting people in constricted areas within 6 feet of each other is going to really cause a spread of this, you know? And first thing they did in China was shut down the Chinese airlines, right? And all the airlines going in and out. We've now seen that Trump has said, we're going to shut down flights to and from Italy, right? Well, that's step one. But where else are they going to shut down these potential flights that are going to have people contained going to and from these countries that might have not the best health systems, as well as not having, you know, the ability to screen people very well, and it might create more of a spread of the virus to other people. I'm not saying that the virus is going to crash the market. These big guys that lay these big prints on, right? We have not seen buying prints yet on American Airlines. That's going to lead me to believe that they're not done. They're not done with their position. So I broke down some levels right here. So to the upside, we have this first resistance all the way back. Look, we're back at 2013, right? Of 1890 as a potential resistance. Well, we went to 1906 today. So we pretty much tested that one time. Now, below us, we have, we also have 1596 here. Oh, sorry, we've got 1689 is our first level down below. And then we've got 1596, 1524, and 1423. Now, if we were to go below that, we're going to be coming back down almost to $11, $12. So just to keep your eyes open, right? If you see that we're not able to break above this level here of 19, that potentially this could go down much further. And if they were to create a travel ban, you know that there's 9 million shares that have been traded on American Airlines. Granted, it was up at 28.33, but you know, if you want to come in and check out the training pit and the Java pit, you're welcome to, because we will definitely share when American Airlines, when we see prints coming in on American Airlines. Like, you guys are in the know today on the SPY. You've seen that we've had 3 days of buying from the dark pool. Excuse me, correction, 3 days of prints. That was my assumption saying buying. So know that we have those levels to watch. You now have those levels to watch to profit. And that's what we do in the pit, is try to help educate people, both pits, to educate people so that you can trade around the dark pool and really profit nicely. You know, there's nothing better than when you see massive prints come in, you buy maybe a $20 or $40 option, even, you know, or trade the stock. I did it on Verizon today too. trading the stock and options, and you get to see these massive profits come in. And it's pretty simple. Where'd the big guys take it, right? Let's just follow them. So we have the dark pool print that happens, right? And it breaks above that bullish above level. So for example, we break above 312, like I said. Well, what are you gonna do? You can buy calls, or you could buy the stock and go long. And then we have targets that we map out on a daily basis. So we map them out for day trading. However, you can look at it overall as a longer trend too. Are they buying 83 million shares of the SPY to go ahead, or are they selling 83 million shares of the SPY just to take a couple dollars profit? I really don't think so. It's pretty hard for them as well to be able to get out or in of a trade with such a large amount without massive euphoria or massive fear. They need to have somebody on the other side of that trade that's going to go ahead and complete that order. So they need to be at an extreme point in the market for them to enter huge or for them to exit huge. Right now, we see a big entry, whether it's bullish or bearish, we see a very big entry. And it could be that they're using the fear base to buy, or it could be massive selling off of some hedge funds. We don't know. But we will see in the future. In the next couple of days, we'll have a clear, direct path. It's pretty much above 312 or below 295. So what happens if we break below 295? Hey, we're gonna put on the bear hat, right? Get ready, go out in the snow, get the bear jacket on, bear hat on, sell some stock and go short, or buy some puts, right? It's pretty simple. When you start to overthink it, that's when you can really get yourself into trouble. But when you start to see, hey, there are these prints. Where is it closing end of day? Are we above these prints? Yes or no, right? Okay, we're above 312. All right, hey, let's go ahead. Let's go long. Are we below 295? All right, they're taking it down, right? So you don't want to overthink it. And you can use these to intraday trade, or you can use them for trend trading as well. So there's the ability to do both off of these prints that we see and the information that we see from them. I don't even read the news, right? I did, Lysol my airplane tables and everything like that with the kids when I was traveling based on the virus, just to try to be safe. But there's really 4 ways you can trade around these prints, right? So number 1, if you're newer to trading or you want to learn how to really trade around the dark pool, you can join us in the training pit. I do teach in there 2 days a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Did an awesome one today. And we don't take anything for granted too. We have some brand new traders in there. So we cover the absolute basics and then we go from there and build on that. Then you can also do self-study. Without the prints, you could go ahead and use the Dark Pools app. And you can see, all right, so this was back in October, the image. So hey, massive prints, bullish above, bearish below. Pretty much explained how that works. Now, sometimes you'll have massive prints and you don't necessarily want to trade it that day, but potentially the next day, because they might not be done. Like with those large IAU and GDX prints I showed you earlier, it took them months to get into that position. So you might want to be a little bit more patient, and it will pay you to be patient. The other, I got to change that. The other way you can do it is you can do the boot camp, right? If you want to do the boot camp, let me know. I can get you in touch with Stephanie, and she'll give you a call directly and go ahead and be able to set you up for, it's now 70 hours of training. And it's 1 week on concentrating more on day trading, then a week off to digest everything, watch the recordings, and then you can move forward with the swing trading the second week. And wow, what a crazy week last week was. That was the end of the February 10th class for swing trading. And then you can also join the Java Pit as a graduate from the boot camp, or Stephanie can screen you to go directly into the Java Pit, which is really more advanced because we do talk a lot of technical talk there and lingo that we have just for the room. And so going through all this education, you really understand what we're talking about as well. And then for everybody that is here attending or listening to these recordings, I did want to offer you all a special promotion for my upcoming seminar in July in Philadelphia, the Modern Trader Summit, where it's the same sort of concept. We have traders that really care to help see other traders profit in the market. And if you are interested in coming, you can receive 25% off the ticket price for a seat with WIT as the promo code. And it's right at moderntradersummit.com. It'll bring you to this screen, and you can click right here. You can check out the other speakers that are going to be there, some amazing friends as well as traders that are going to be there. That's actually how I met Anka. She was at the first event down in Orlando 3 years ago, and it's great to work with her again. As well as, you know, you can see the timeline as to what's going to happen. If you're traveling from out of town, there's some details, as well as, you know, for airlines and hotels. And then if you have any questions at all, you guys have all of my contact information right here with It's Airplane Jane. You can email me at jane@cjanetrade.com and jane@the-darkpools. And to answer your question, Nat, I do not trade Forex myself. I did go to a trader's seminar where I heard from a market maker that used to work on Forex, and he said he would not touch it with a 10-foot pole because he was in the industry, because the spreads of the currency are so far apart that the brokerages really make the money. And so that's why I do not personally trade Forex. So if you guys have any other questions, I know we've got another speaker coming on in 4 minutes. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, if you have any in the future, again, you're welcome to reach out to me. And I would love to see you and meet you in person at the Modern Trader Summit in July in Philadelphia. Any questions, guys? Oh, awesome, Amity. That's great. Yeah, Jeremy is going to be there in Philadelphia as well. He is amazing. He's probably one of the most positive people that I know. All right, well, if there's no further questions, I will turn it back over to Anka.